Dude, that looks like a strawberry plant in there.
Could be.
Right here.
Welcome back. Wake up now.
What's up? It's been a long day. Morning for me.
It has been a long week. Okay, so our garden should be done by now. We should be done planting. Everything finished. I feel
Normally we're done.
Normally we're done by Memorial Day. We are post Memorial Day.
And we're not done.
We're not done.
So I'm gonna go start.
We're gonna go start. We have very little done. So Matt's gonna plant some tomatoes today, these big ones that just are desperate to be planted. I'm gonna take the celery out and show you what we're doing with it. So if you remember, we got celery coming up from last year here because I cut it at the base instead of picking the whole stalk. So I'm gonna plant this celery in between. Now that these are getting pretty big, I'm thinking I'm gonna plant maybe just one in between. I was originally thinking 2. All right, so we got the tall Utah that barely came up, old seed, and then the Utah that came up really well. Eli accidentally dropped that little trowel the other day.
Celery.
Careful. Oh, did it break? How did that break?
I sucked it.
I don't know how that happened. Let me see it. Oh. If only Dad had his own little welder machine, we could weld it back together. And it broke, so we need to get a new one of those. Matt's using the other one for tomatoes. So in the meantime, I think I'm gonna just plant these by hand if I can get in here enough. These wood chips are really deep. Let's start with the good stuff. Look at that. It's actually 2 of them. I don't know how well those separate. Hi, Pixie. How you doing, Mama? All right, got the celery in. So we got it in these 2 rows where we already had celery coming up. So kind of in between, this row was quite a bit smaller, ended way up there, and so I just filled it in with these new plants. So it should be good. I'm really tempted to plant like potatoes or something right here. But we're gonna wanna be able to get to this garlic. We're gonna wanna be able to get to the celery, so it's gonna just be really difficult. I really need to get potatoes and beans in somewhere. Potatoes around here, people say to plant them on Good Friday. So that was a long time ago. So super behind on those, but we have a lot of potatoes, so.
We got all the tomatoes planted, the bigger ones. We're waiting on some more, but we're gonna do the small ones. So I picked this trellis to do the bigger ones because this way I'll do the small ones over there and it won't get shaded by the big ones. If I put the big ones over there, it'd shade the small ones because they're gonna grow faster. But we found also in the past that once we do the cups like this and we put them in the ground, it's like they stunt and they fall behind for a little while. But when you plant the little ones in the ground, it's like they just take off. So I'm hoping that's the case this year because I feel like they really stunted. I don't know about you, Sarah, but I feel like they stunted where they are up there.
I think that it's something to do with the soil we made this year versus the soil we made in the past. We bought cow manure. to use as
This
our...
was composted cow manure too, wasn't it? I'm positive
It
was.
just says organic
It
compost.
was a different name though.
Yeah, it just says organic compost, so it doesn't say what's in it. And I think that cow manure made that big of a difference. So he got these tomatoes in. We didn't label them yet. So these are the ones in the red solo cup. We just left the cups with the names on them for now. Maybe I'll get around to labeling them. Sometimes it's nice knowing what type of tomato you have, especially if you really like it. But it's not super necessary.
Are the gnats bad where you guys are? Man, they are just terrible here.
It's been a bad bug year. Mosquitoes, gnats. Just a bad couple weeks for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we were spoiled the last couple years though, not getting water, so I think that's our problem this year.
Yeah, well, we haven't been getting much rain this spring either. More than last 2 years, but take the little we get. I'll water the rest. I weeded this area. This is where all of our cabbage is. And as I was weeding, I noticed there was a ton of tomato plants coming up, volunteers. So we're gonna leave those go, just like we did last year, and it turned out good. So we might be a little short on tomato plants this year, but with all these volunteers, I don't think we'll be short at all. There's a lot of volunteers.
So yeah, albeit not ideal, sometimes you just do what you can do. Now I did tell them that I was pulling all the volunteers because I was for a while.
Oh, I wasn't.
Yeah, I totally was. I left the dill and I pretty much pulled all the sunflowers and random tomato plants that were in places I really didn't want them. But I'm kind of tempted to take some of these volunteers and transplant them to where our tomatoes are. But as long as they're not in the way. I mean, some of our cabbage didn't do so hot, so the chickens got in here a little bit from the edge of the fence, and I'm sure heat and things. But when the tomatoes are coming up there where there's no cabbage, it won't be as big of a deal either.
Oh, and you see all the squash or something that's growing in there?
I did. I
think it's all the squash that we were feeding the pigs, I think.
I almost dug it up because I was like, I should just dig it up and plant it, because we've been having trouble with squash. It'd be nice to know if it was zucchini.
There's a bunch though. It's on the other side of that fence too, so we can just let them grow in there.
Yeah, I'm sure something will eat it
zucchini.
eventually.
I think it's the stuff we were feeding the pigs all winter, some little squashes.
What were we feeding them? Oh, like an acorn squash or something?
No, it was like a pumpkin acorn. I don't know. It was like a gourd squash thing.
All right, so those baked tomatoes and the celery got planted today. I think that's it for today. We have all those little tomatoes, our little peppers, bell and hot to plant. We still want to get beans in, cucumbers, potatoes. Lots of things still. Hope you enjoyed this video. Glad you got to see me again. Bye.